Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news. It's Sunday morning, so you do tend to get, in the UK, a bit of sensationalist headlines on a Sunday morning. It's always been this since I was a kid, because you do have the Sunday outlets. And look, I don't know whether this is sensationalist or not. I mean, I've had people messaging me last night and this morning saying that, you know, I've heard the same thing, that United are looking to sell Anthony Martial if they get the right offer. Anthony Martial up for sale. Inter Milan looking to buy him as a replacement for Lukaku. We've also got the latest on Trippier, the midfield situation, Paul Pogba, a lot of other things as well. But we're going to start off with the Anthony Martial story. I don't like this story. Let me be honest straight away. I'm a fan of Martial. I want Martial to stay, but I'm also going to not be a blinkered to the fact that I know a lot of you would like to see him go. I know that some people have given up on Martial, and some people would say, well, let's move him on. Let's move him on. My initial thoughts on this is that, look, it's coming from the Mirror, which, you know, take it with a pinch of salt. They've been right on some things, they've been wrong on other things. They're basically saying that Martial to Inter Milan with a loan obligation to buy for around £50 million would please Manchester United. Look, loan to buy, what's all this shit? Like, why do we keep loaning players? Like, it doesn't actually benefit us to loan a player. I know if there's an obligation to buy, it means you're going to get £50 million in a year, but Inter Milan have just had £100 million for Lukaku. They can either buy the player or they can piss off. I'm fed up of loan deals. These are not sales. These are players that, they're on loan and then they bloody come back. Now, in relation to Pereira, that's very frustrating. In relation to Martial, I don't see the value in United loaning Martial. I don't see the value in loaning Martial. I'll have to accept it if we sell him, because if you sell him, you get money in and you do something with it. We're not in a position to loan Martial and not get money in. That would be a bad move, because Cavani is not going to play. I don't think Cavani will play 70% of our games. I think it'll be somewhere between 50 and 70%. So if he's not going to play 30 to 40% of our games, who's our striker? Well, I don't think Rashford's a striker, and he's not even fit. Greenwood, look, I think he can be. I think he will be. Is he there yet? Arguably not. Who else? So we're going to let Martial go on loan or sell him and rely on Cavani and Greenwood for the season. A big season. I don't see it. I just don't see it. I don't think we'll do it. I don't think it's a good idea to do it. But what I would say is, it's not just in the Mirror. There are people who've messaged me this morning saying it's not even a secret that United have put Martial out there up for sale. Well, I haven't heard this. I haven't heard he's up for sale, but obviously some people have. I disagree with it. We're not equipped to go into this season without Martial. I do rate Martial. Warren, if you don't watch this show, you should know Martial was one of my favourite players before we got Bruno, and is still one of my favourite players. But I'm not blinkered to the fact that he had a bad season last year. I'm not blinkered to the fact that some of you might say sell Martial, and I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. I just have a different opinion. I can understand why people would say sell Martial. I can understand why some people feel that he's had enough chances, it's time to part ways. I wouldn't judge yesterday, by the way. Ollie said it after the game. Martial tried a few things, it didn't come off, but he's been out injured. 45 minutes, he's not there yet, and I think that was very obvious. And Pogba wasn't there yet, and Fred wasn't there yet. A couple of players weren't there yet, but I understand why people would sell Martial. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong, like I said, but for me, I just think this transfer window. It's funny. I saw something yesterday from a United fan on Twitter, and they were at the game yesterday, and they were basically like, Sancho, Varane, £3 pints at Old Trafford and a lick of paint, and fans are queuing up outside the megastore in their droves. The Glazers must be absolutely pissing themselves all the way to the bank. And it's true, isn't it, when you put it like that? 3 months ago, the Super League was a disgrace. There was barriers up, there was protests, there was outrage. People wanted Glazers out. We're not accepting anything else other than the Glazers out. 3 months later, people are queuing up in their droves to buy stuff from the megastore, all because the Glazers have put a lick of paint on the stadium. You can get a pint for £3, and we've bought Varane and Sancho. And it's amazing how manipulative this ownership can be. But this does feed into Martial, because I think we are getting so obsessed about Sancho and Varane that we actually think we're going to be in a title race. It's almost like we've bought Sancho and Varane and now we're in a title race. But look at the deadwood. Look at what we're keeping. Look at what we're trying to move on. I mean, I just think, if Martial goes, We're weaker up front. We haven't got any strikers apart from Cavani and Greenwood. I don't believe Rashford's a striker. I just don't. And I think we need to keep Martial. If Martial was going to go, he needed to go sooner than this, and we needed to replace him sooner than this. Next summer, look, if Martial doesn't have a good year this year, it's time to go. But right here, right now, 6 days off a game against Leeds, I don't think selling Martial or loaning Martial is anywhere near the right thing to do. So we'll have to wait and see. Apparently, Inter Milan want Martial on a loan-to-buy deal to replace Lukaku. And if I was United, I'd say swivel on that. I would. I'd say up yours. If you want to give me 60 million, I'll think about it. But I'm not doing it. And even if, and look, Inter have got the money now. Even if Inter Milan said to us, we'll give you 50 million for Martial, I'm sure some of you would take it. What would you do with that 50 million? What would you do with it? I mean, are we going to go and spend 50 million very quickly on Alexander Isak or someone like that? I don't think we are. So I don't think Martial being sold is a good idea for United. But look, let's have a look what people are saying. Martial swap deal for Barella plus add-ons, or would it be a bad idea? Well, you're replacing a striker with a midfielder and suddenly midfield looks better, but we look weak up front. I'm not a hypocrite. Like, I think we're weak in the midfield. We'll talk about that in a few minutes' time. I think up front we're fine. We've got Cavani, Martial, Greenwood. You take Martial out of that equation, I think we're weak up front. So you're weak in one area to strengthen another, you know? Sign Calvert-Lewin. Yeah, you're not going to get him for anything less than 80 million. We still have Hannibal, not a striker. Just give it to Eddie Cavani, says Reese. It's smoke and mirrors. Pretend you've changed buying few players, then send players out the back door to get the net spend down, says Dan Carter. Well, I tell you what, if we did sell Martial, that net spend is a con job, isn't it? That's a very good point from Dan. If we did end up selling Martial for 50 million, our net spend is down under 70 million again. If you starve someone for something for 8 years and you offer it the crumbs, referring to the Glazers' ownership with the fans, says Red Baron. Yeah, interesting point there. Why not? Yesterday we scored 4. He was not involved in any of them, says Krishnik. Well, mate, you need to wake up and smell the coffee. It's Sunday morning. Listen to what Ricky said in his fan cam yesterday. Those 3 goals, how many times are we going to score those 3 goals this season? One was a header from Maguire, which doesn't happen very often. Bruno's free kick doesn't happen very often. And a goalkeeping area doesn't happen very often. How many good chances did we create? And you say Martial wasn't involved. How many chances did we create for Greenwood? We still do not create enough chances for our strikers. So I wouldn't be getting too excited about yesterday based on, we can sell a striker. Haaland first game back and he got a hat-trick, says Raz. I mean, look, I think United will look at Haaland in a year's time. Of course they will. We could swap Martial for Messi. Look, I think it's the quality of Martial. You know, what we're not talking about here is, I want Martial to stay. I'm sure some people do. I'm sure there's a lot of you that want him to go. But look at the conversation we're having. I know for a fact Spurs would like Martial if Kane goes. Inter want Martial, Lukaku's gone. And Barcelona would like Martial if Messi goes. So look, very good clubs want Martial. He's at Manchester United. We're not selling him to Burnley. We're not selling him to bloody Auxerre. Whatever happened to Auxerre? Actually, I've not heard of them in years. You know, we're not selling him to Schalke. This is like Inter Milan, Spurs, Barcelona. They'd be in for someone like Martial. So he's a good player. Let's see what happens though, because all I can tell you is I hope it's not true. But a couple of people messaged me last night saying, look, we are looking to sell Martial. So let's see what happens with that. Welsh Schooner says Barcelona won't want Martial. Welsh Schooner, the hilarious thing is, I could find you a million tweets from Arsenal fans saying they'd love Martial. So sit down in 8th with your shit club and button it. This is the United stand, not the Arsenal Mid-Table Matters show. I'm good. The fact Inter want Martial shows we should give him another chance, as Mooney. And that was the point I was trying to make. You can dislike Martial, you can want to sell him, but I'm telling you now, if we did sell him, there would be big clubs wanting him because he's a good player. Anyway, that's the big story on Martial. The next big story I want to talk to you about is Paul Pogba. This is coming out of The Athletic. They're basically saying that if Messi goes to PSG, watch out for about... We'll probably get it while we're here. Well, no, we probably won't. I think it's 11, or is it 1 p.m? It's 12 p.m. I think it's midday. There is a press conference by Barcelona in relation to Messi. It's suspected to be Barcelona announcing Messi leaving. There might be a shock and he goes, I'm not fucking leaving. But I doubt it. I think he's going to leave. What The Athletic are saying is that if Messi goes to PSG, which is expected, then PSG will not be able to get Pogba, but will encourage him to run his contract down so they can get him next summer. The Athletic go on to say that this may not suit Pogba. He may want the security of a contract and therefore might sign a contract with Manchester United. I think that is a huge leap of faith. I think that is the biggest trampoline jump in the world. That is not true, unfortunately. I think that PSG may well say to Pogba, wait a year, and we'll get you next year if they get Messi, because they've spent so much on Messi. But I don't think Pogba's going to go, I don't want to wait a year until I'm free and can pick where I want to go on huge money. I think I'll sign a contract with United. He's not going to do that. He's not going to sign a contract with United just because no one wants to buy him now. The preference for Pogba and Raiola is to do what Messi's done, what Mbappe could do next summer, what Donnarumma did this summer, what Ramos did this summer, is to be in a situation next summer where you're completely free and can choose where you want to go and made a shitload of money. And I think that is what Pogba is going to do. And that is the decision that United need to make. And it's interesting. Very good clubs want our players because we're not selling the deadwood. Never have. We are selling the players with the highest sales value, says Andre. I think that's a great point as well, Andre. The players we sell tend to be players that you probably wouldn't want to sell. How would we be weaker up front if Martial goes? He doesn't play or score. I'd sell him for 30 million if we could, and then to have a player we need. Swap. Sean Turner. I don't even know where to start with that, Sean. How would we be weaker at front if Martial goes? He doesn't play or score. He actually played quite a lot of games last year. He was the player of the year before that. He does score goals. He had a bad season last year. I think you're being absolutely unfair and you are over-egging the pudding to a point that you've made a bloody scrambled eggs. That is just a nonsense comment, I'm afraid. You'd sell him for 30 million, and if we could get an Inter player as well, that would be great. Swap. So swap a striker for a midfielder and leave us lightweight up front. We would only have Cavani, who's not going to play 70% of our games, and Greenwood. That is light up front, I'm afraid. We've got nothing else. Don't talk to me about Rashford up front. He's not a striker. So that's all I'm going to say about that, Sean. Your opinion, my opinion. Let the chat decide. Mark, you're too funny. You absolutely cracked me up, says Majid. Khan. But yeah, going back to the... I mean, look, I'd swap him for Lautaro Martinez, Luke. That's not... You know, let's talk about that. But let's talk about... Let's talk about the Pogba situation. I noticed a lot of people yesterday got on Pogba's back. He didn't play very well, but let's be honest, he's only been training for 4 or 5 days. Martial didn't play well. He's not that sharp. I think the reason that people like Wan-Bissaka and Van der Beek and Matic played well is because they've been training a lot. Having said that, Harry Maguire and Luke Shaw have only been training a few days and they were very, very good. I don't hold anything against Pogba yesterday. I think that in relation to Pogba yesterday, he didn't play particularly well, but the tempo was very slow compared to the first half. I don't think you can judge Pogba yesterday as a reason to sell him. But what I did see a lot of last night was how can you give Paul Pogba 400 grand a week? How can you make Paul Pogba the best paid player at this club by a very long way when he doesn't even have a place in the team? And what people were basically saying is, Ollie doesn't use Pogba where his best position is. Ollie doesn't build a team around Pogba. He shoehorns Pogba in. It's like one game play in the midfield, now go back on the left wing. You even saw it yesterday. In the second half, you saw the problem with Pogba at United. Ollie moved him 3 positions in half an hour. First off, he came on and he was close to Fred. Within 5 minutes, he was up near Bruno. And then about 10 minutes after that, Garner came on and he was on the left wing. Now, Matic plays, he's the holding midfielder. Bruno plays, he's the number 10. Cavani plays, he's the striker. You know, Rashford plays, he's the left winger mainly. Pogba plays, you're in the midfield, you're attacking midfield, you're left midfield. Is that the sort of player that you want to give 400 grand a week to? A player that you don't even know where to use? Pogba, I wouldn't argue that, you know, some people would say in the right system, in the right team, Pogba deserves 400 grand a week. I'm here for that. I'm not saying he's not, but... Do you think United should be paying Paul Pogba £400,000 a week? Because actually, when you think about it, we don't even know where to use him. I know where I'd use him, you know where you'd use him, but Solskjaer's not using him. You know, last season it was McFred over Pogba most of the time, and Pogba on the left wing. This season, is that what we're going to do again? And I don't care how good Paul Pogba is on the left wing. I don't care how much he inverts and swaps and this, that and the other. You speak to 100 people and ask them where Paul Pogba should play. I'm telling you now, not many are going to go with left wing. They're not. So, do you want to pay 400 grand a week to put Paul Pogba on the left wing? Because I don't. I want to pay 400 grand a week to put Paul Pogba in the centre of midfield and build a team around him and put a proper holding midfielder next to him. And if we're not going to do that, then maybe we should be trying to cash in, because the contract would be silly, and he's going to go for nothing in a year's time. So maybe we should be looking to sell him, but I don't know what United are going to do. That's the honest answer. Levin said it on Friday. I'm sure many of you feel the same. I don't know what we're doing with Pogba, and that is probably a line that we've used a lot with United. You don't know what you're doing. And I don't think we know what we're doing. I think we're going to start the season, gamble that he'll sign a new contract, but the bottom line is, if we do get Paul Pogba to sign a new contract, we're going to get Paul Pogba to sign massive, massive wages, and we don't even really know how to use him at the moment. I've not seen enough evidence over the last year that we know how to use Paul Pogba. And I think I would argue that with anybody, because consistently, how have we used Pogba over the last year? I'm not saying he's not played well. And I think back to the game against Fulham, he was playing in the midfield with Fred. He scored that goal. He scored against West Ham. Good goal from the midfield. But has that been a consistent theme? Mark, can you please call my friend Ben a prat? Plus Martial will be back this season, says Kay. If we are selling Martial, keeping players like James, Mata, Pereira, Lingard, what a joke. This club's got no future. I think that's a great point by Mini, by the way. We're debating selling Martial and staying at the club. You've got Jesse Lingard, Wan Mata, Dan James. That is a great point, really. I think yesterday showed that Donny actually fits us better than Pogba, and I don't know how Ollie and the coaches can't see that thought, says Sean Turner. I mean, look, I think Pogba's a better player than Donny. I'm going to say that straight away. But to be honest with you, the way Donny played yesterday in that box-to-box role, he moves the ball quicker. And on that performance, and it is only pre-season, I liked the tempo. The tempo was a lot quicker than it was at any point last season. It doesn't matter whether it's Fred, Matic and Pogba, Fred and Pogba. You know, the way Donny moves the ball. And look, there were a few stray passes, but there are going to be. Yeah, but I thought the tempo was good. I think Pogba will run down his contract depending on how PSG and United perform in the Champions League. And if PSG are able to hold on to Mbappe, he will decide, says Savish. Are we expecting you love to see it by United social media team tomorrow with a picture of Sancho? And by the way, Martial is still our best left winger, says Daniel Molns. Yeah, Sancho back in training tomorrow. I agree with Sean. We need to sell him for 40 million, get Bamford for James plus 15 million, sell Lingard and Andreas for 40 million with 55 million, get a good CDM sorted, says Amit. Well, not bad idea actually. Hi Mark, if we get a decent CDM, we would see the best of Pogba, but we keep Deadwood and McFred. Pointless offering 400k a week for him to play left wing, says Dasbo. And I think, you know what? Sean makes a good point there. I don't think you can be definitive with it now. I think you'd have to side with Pogba still. But look, if Ollie actually uses Van der Beek this season in the role he used him yesterday, it very quickly could become clear that we are better with Van der Beek in that position. Bruno, Van der Beek, holding midfielder. I'm not saying Van der Beek's better than Pogba. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is, if Van der Beek can play like he did yesterday and get a run of games, I think the way he moves the ball and the tempo he plays the game is quicker than Pogba, McTominay and Fred. And certainly better than Fred on the ball. I think Fred's a quick player and he's tenacious, but he's not as good on the ball as Donny. So I would like to see that blossom. I don't think we will. I don't think Ollie will do that. I think Ollie is a man of habits and I think he has favourites and I think he will find it easier to keep putting Donny on the bench than he will to bench McTominay or Pogba. But I think Donny's a very interesting player, and I think if I was a Juventus or Real Madrid, I'd be looking at Donny van der Beek very, very carefully and going, or even Barcelona and going, you know what, he's a good player not being utilised. So I'm interested to see what happens with Donny, but I don't have a lot of faith that Ollie's going to use him, even though I think he should do. On Paul Pogba, just to close that one off, Michael Slade says, Michael Sadie says, Michael Sadie says, Martial is a player that thrives on emotion, in my opinion. I believe he'll have a better season with fans creating an atmosphere. Pogba is Ollie's John O'Shea, just 350k more a week. My opinion, Donny makes the team more balanced. We have Bruno for high-risk passes, says Mark Dobby. And do you think it's a coincidence that we create more chances for strikers when Cavani plays? Of course, Pogba played in the final then, but still, says Arita. I think it is a coincidence. I don't think you can say that. I mean, I know what you're trying to say there. And some people say it's a disgrace, but this will probably be Donny's last year. But yeah, I don't think when Cavani plays, we create more chances for our striker. I don't. I think that's a really speculative myth. I've seen Cavani play and have no service. He wouldn't have had any service yesterday. It doesn't matter whether you're me up front, Martial up front or Cavani up front. Cavani's the best number 9 out of the three of us, but there was no service. Doesn't matter how much movement you make. There wasn't good balls into the box. There wasn't slip-ins. There wasn't good crosses. So, but you did hit on something. When Pogba went on the left wing with Bruno, you had two creators. And we did create more chances for Cavani, because traditionally we had Bruno, Greenwood, Rashford. Bruno's the only creator. Rashford and Greenwood are wide forwards. They're not creators. So when Pogba went where Rashford was, we did create more chances for Cavani. And people will go, well, that's why Pogba needs to play there. But we don't need to put Pogba there anymore because we've got Sancho. Sancho is a creator. So with Sancho and Bruno, we should create more chances for our strikers. And we didn't have Sancho yesterday. We had James and Greenwood. So I'm not massively concerned. We didn't create many chances for our striker yesterday. But I think the minute you give another creator to Bruno, i.e. Sancho, we're fine. We don't need Sancho, Bruno, Pogba as our three. You've got too many creators there. It's nice to have a wide forward. But yeah, just with Pogba before we move on, we're gonna keep discussing about this, and I can't make my mind up. So God knows how anybody else can. Last week I was like, let's keep him and let his run his contract down. Today I'm thinking, yesterday was just a big... It's very easy to talk about Pogba when we're not playing games because you just talk about the talent. Oh, he's too good. We need Pogba next season if we're going to be in a title race. And that's where I was last week. Having watched us play yesterday, and you start playing games again, and you go, look, I know it's pre-season, but where's he going to use Pogba? Like, where is he using him? If he was building a team around Pogba, I'd be like, it's worth the risk, keep him for a year. We're not building a team around Pogba. Arguably, Matic and Donny are a better midfield two at the moment to play against Leeds, and Pogba probably starts on the left wing. But you know, I'm sort of thinking. I know this is really dangerous to say, but I'm sort of thinking, if Pogba's not committed to United, which he clearly isn't if he's going to run his contract down, maybe we should be trying to sell him over the next few weeks. Maybe we should be trying to sell Pogba and get a midfielder in, because if that will give Donny more game time and a new midfielder comes in. I don't know, but I really don't think we should be allowing the contract to run down so we get nothing, and I really don't think we should be giving him more than 400 grand a week. I don't think we should do that, but I might change in a week. He might score 2 goals against Leeds and you've got to take the risk. Hi Mark, if Ollie wants to get... And I think that's the great thing. I mean, look, we all have opinions, but sometimes you can have a dynamic opinion. And I think with Pogba, I'm just very dynamic. I'm dynamic. But I am. My opinion on Pogba changes. And there's nothing wrong with that because it's a very difficult decision. I know he's a fantastic world-class talent. I know he's going to run his contract down. And I know United have got a difficult decision to make. Hi Mark, if Ollie wants to get rid of Anthony, does that mean he wants to play Paul Pogba on the left when Rashford's out for the next couple of months? Let's get to hyper. I don't really think that doesn't bother me that much, you know. It's not even about Martial playing off the left and Pogba playing ahead of him. My biggest concern is if we sell Martial, I don't think Cavani and Greenwood's enough up front. If Cavani is out for 3 months, you're relying on Greenwood. That's it. You're relying on what is he, 19, 20? That's it. And what if Greenwood gets injured? You know what I mean? I just can't see how you let Martial go and don't replace him with a striker, because we're only... Cavani's injury prone. He could get injured at any moment. Then it's only Greenwood playing 3 times a week. With Rashi out, Martial is key, or else it's DJ, says Tusha. I think Martial's very important as well as a backup striker, really. Anyway, look. Just a shout out. I like a bit of positivity on the show, despite people who think we're negative. We're not. I just want to say big shout out to Heath Chong. I don't know whether anybody noticed yesterday. Played for Birmingham in the Championship. The Championship kicked off yesterday. Man of the match. So look, I like Heath Chong. I think the knee injury he got in his late teens kept him out for nearly a year. I always felt that Chong and Gomez had the talent to come through. Obviously, that has not worked out with either of them, but it's not over for Chong. And if Chong tears it up in the Championship, then this is the thing with Pellistri. Pellistri, even if he tears it up in Alaves, he's doing it in La Liga, in a league that is, as we know, La Liga is not a great league at the moment. The Championship, well, look, it's probably not as good as La Liga, quality-wise, but it's very physical. And it's a very intense league, and you play a lot of games, 46 games in the Championship. So, actually, I don't know whether it is 46, but you play a lot of games, and that's a good place for Chong. So well done. Let's see how he blossoms. I think since Pogba will run his contract down, he won't give it all like our players. That's why we should play Donny more. Well, Red Devils, that is a concern. We've got to be careful. We've got to be careful about that. Why aren't big clubs buying Patrick Bamford? I don't know. Maybe he's happy at Leeds. I don't know. Just an update on Declan Rice. This is coming in from the Mail that Declan Rice will be staying at West Ham for another year and sparking a bidding war next year when he's a lot cheaper because he'll have had a year on his contract. Apparently Declan Rice doesn't think it's detrimental to his career to stay at West Ham for another year, especially with them in the Europa League, so he will be staying. I mean, to be honest with you, it's not even up to Declan Rice. You know, it's all right Declan Rice saying he's staying at West Ham. He hasn't got a bloody choice. He hasn't. Like, he can't force a move because West Ham won't sell him for a reasonable price. If Declan Rice knew he was available for 50 million, he'd push a move. He would do. But I think West Ham have set a price of 80 and no one's going to pay it. So it's not like he's got any choice in the matter. He's going to have to stay at West Ham. And, you know, I would agree. I don't think it's terrible for his career to stay at West Ham for another year. You know, they've got Europa League football. They've got a decent side. And he's a decent player. And he's still young enough that at 22, I think he is, that he can stay there for another year. Of course he can. But what worries me about that news is, what if United go, yeah, we're waiting for Rice next year? And I will say, oi, no, stop it, Man United. Because if we think we're going to get Declan Rice next year for cheap, nothing changes. He wants to go to Chelsea. In a year's time, Chelsea will probably go and get him. So we can't wait for Rice when he doesn't even want to come to us. He wants to go to Chelsea. We need to buy a midfielder this summer. And also, even if they were thinking about waiting for Rice, we all know next summer's about Haaland. So we just got to give up on this Rice thing and get a midfielder in. Because if we don't get a midfielder, we go into next season and we know we're weak in an area. And if you go into a season with a weakness, you can't moan when you don't win a title. You've got to go into a season covered. Chelsea are going into this season covered in every area. Man City are going into this season covered in every area. I'd say even Liverpool are going into this season covered in every area. What Liverpool can't afford to do is get a couple of big injuries. But Man City can, Chelsea can, they've got cover. For United, we're going to go into this season weak in the midfield. The most important area of the pitch, we're going to be weak in it. And, you know, that's not preparation, is it? Thanks, Mark, for your content, bud. We need to sell Martial if another striker comes in, not before. And Pogba for a CDM I would take for balance, as Stuart Lanny. I think more and more people are thinking like that. I'm going to bring it up on the show tonight because we've got Ricky and Adam tonight and a couple of others coming on the show because it's a bit like a season preview show. I'm looking forward to it tonight at 8 o'clock. But I think more and more people are starting to think that, you know what, cash in on Pogba, get a holding midfielder is probably the way to go. It's daunting. It is daunting. I'm not really sure about that yet. But if he's going anyway, do you start the rebuild soon? And then what's more important to United? And look, so much of it depends on Donny van der Beek actually filling the void. Mark, can we do a deal with Brighton in swapping Dan James plus 20 million for Basuma? We can loan Ghana as a bonus, as IG2. Mate, we can do that. 100% we can do that. But we're not in for Basuma. I said last night, people said I was pissed. I only had 2 glasses, but like I still stand by what I say. I still think Basuma would be brilliant at United, and if he does move to Arsenal or Liverpool or Spurs, I think we'll see again what we've seen with other players like Fabinho, that he is perfect for United, but for some reason, whether it's our scouting, because look, Ollie wasn't in charge when we should have gone for Fabinho, Mourinho was, and he had the same bloody agent as Fabinho, George Mendes. So I don't know whether it's scouting or bad decision making, but United don't seem to be in tune with many fans and the world of football in relation to what they need. Because we could have got Fabinho. We could have gone for that Samari. We could have gone for Partey. We could have gone for Basuma this summer, but we don't seem to want to go for that type of midfielder. But then you see them excelling at other clubs and you think, why didn't we do that? And you've got to start looking at it. It goes beyond Ollie, to be fair, because it's been going on beyond Ollie's tenure. There are players out there over the years that we could have brought into that holding midfield position, and we ignore it time after time after time. Even when Mourinho bought Matic, I was like, well, he's a good CDM, but he's not the modern CDM. And I think he's coming towards the end of his career. And so it's come to pass. I hope we don't go into the season with McFred. Not even McDonald's would sell McFred. Love the content, Mark. Keep it coming, says Red Devils FC. Thank you very much. And then another story I just want to bring you as well. I thought Samari looked very good yesterday, and I think that Samari is a player that we've been talking about on this show for at least 18 months. I definitely remember the January transfer window before this one. We were talking about Samari. Again, I don't know why. I don't know why we don't look at that sort of player. I mean, you look at what Leicester have done this summer. Daka and Samari for less than 50 million. You know, that, I tell you what, I'd sell Martial and do that. I'd sell Martial for 50 million and get Daka and Samari. Daka as a backup striker and Samari as the midfielder. I mean, look, why are Leicester able to do those sort of deals and United aren't? That's the sort of deal that, you know, you should look at and go, that's very, very interesting. Mark, is there any way turning Van der Beek into a CDM, says James? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that you've got to say that it's unlikely. How does Pogba turn down playing with Messi, Neymar, Mbappe, Ramos next year? We should only be selling Martial if Haaland comes, says Sean Kelly. And yeah, I'm not, mate. This is the United stand. Can I just say this is the United stand, and we're talking about Manchester United. If you've got Messi on the back of your shirt and you live in Norwich, do one. I couldn't give a shit about Messi's press conference. Why do I care about Messi's press conference? I'm talking about my club. Swivel on it. If you want to watch Messi's press conference, you know where the door is. This is the United stand. Couldn't give two shits about Messi's press conference. So jog on if you live up Messi's arse. He's a fantastic player, but this is the United stand. And he's not coming to Manchester United, so what relevance has it got to me? Trippier, I want to talk about Trippier. Trippier has been linked with a move. This is a big story, actually. Trippier has been linked with a move to Arsenal this morning. Arsenal are looking for a new right back. Now, I'm not saying this is good news because I think Trippier wants to come back to Manchester. He's a Manchester boy and I think he would like to come to Manchester. But Atletico Madrid are holding out for £35 million. £35 million, right? I would let him go to Arsenal. You know, I think he's a good player. I've not really seen anybody say that Trippier is not a good player. But if Arsenal want Trippier, that is not a battle I'm bothered about winning. Really couldn't give a toss. Really not bothered if Arsenal win that. I think that, you know, there's two things that come to my mind with this. Manchester United have already got Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I'm a big fan of Wan-Bissaka. I know not everyone agrees with me with that. But I agree with Tony. Delo is the better option in those circumstances. If we're thinking of spending over £15 million on a 31-year-old backup right back, and I say backup because he probably wouldn't be a backup, but you're going to bench a £50 million player, you're contradicting yourself. Ollie bought Wan-Bissaka. He can't buy a right back for 20-30 million and then bench the £50 million one that you bought. That don't work, mate. So I don't see the value in Trippier now. I think for 15 million, we were all like, yeah, this is a good deal. But for 20, 25, 30, God no. God no. Camavinga is in the starting lineup right now in Rennes versus Lens. Would be great to watch him to see what a player we could get, says Red Devils. Well, you know where to watch it. Greenwood's not ready. Compare with Cavani, movement in the box. He's too static, not learning for some reason, says Mandor. Come on, mate. Come on, mate. You can't compare one of the world's great strikers of the last 10 years for movement to Mason Greenwood. What do you mean he's not learning? He's a bloody teenager, mate. He's on the right wing. He's on the left wing. He's at number 10. He's at number 9. You seriously going to type those words out that Greenwood's not developing compared to Cavani? Oh my God. I just don't know. I don't know. I'm not really great at tactics, Mark. How is a modern CDM different? Says Umka. I need more information than that, mate. I can't answer that question. It's poor. Does Delo shift the priority of getting CDM marks? Says Steve Locke. You know what? I think with Trippier, I was gonna talk about it last night. I'll mention it now. I'm worried we're going to go to a back five. Did you notice Scott McTominay coming on as a centre back yesterday? And I was like, was that necessity or was that planned? Because if you play with a back five, McTominay plays in a back five for Scotland. If you buy Trippier, you can play Trippier and Wan-Bissaka in a back five. I would just be absolutely disgusted if we go to a back five, right? Not because it's a bad formation. I know it works for Chelsea and it works for other clubs. But I don't think a back five works with Manchester United. I really don't. And I also don't think... I've read Red Devils FC's super chat. If you're too thick to listen to when I've said it, that's your problem. He's talking about Camavinga playing today. But I think that if we go to a back five, for me, that's not Manchester United, right? It's not United. And the second thing is, you don't buy Raphael Varane and go to a back five. The whole point of a back five is to give you more defensive stability. You don't go to a back five and then play Raphael Varane in a back five. That would be a waste of time. The whole point of having a quick world-class centre-back is that it makes you more attacking because they can cover more space with their experience and quality. You don't play a back five with Varane. So I'm just a little bit worried about this Trippier obsession because it doesn't make sense to me to spend money on Trippier and bench a £50 million right back in Wan-Bissaka. The only way you can play them together is with a back five. And I'm just like, why would you buy Varane and play a back five? I might be completely wrong here because I did see a change of formation yesterday. But look, if Arsenal want Trippier and they want to spend 30 million on him, let him go. Let him go because that's more than double what we should pay. If we could get Trippier for 15 million, I'd do it. I wouldn't even pay 20 for him. I really wouldn't. I think we need a midfielder. We don't need Trippier. Arsenal sniffing around Trippier. Hopefully it's true, says Raz. I mean, I actually hope it is. I hope it is true. I hope Arsenal do get Trippier. I think it'd be a good signing for Arsenal. But I just think it's wasted money for United. And we should probably just stick with Dalot. And look, Dalot got a goal yesterday. I don't think Dalot looked bad against Brentford. And he was out of position at left back. I thought yesterday he looked good. He's got a good cross on him. You know, he's more experienced than he was a year ago. I think Dalot should be staying at United. It doesn't make much sense to me to sell Dalot to a club. You know, there are a lot of clubs that like Dalot in abroad. To sell Dalot to bring in a 31-year-old right back, I just think Dalot and Wan-Bissaka works better. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with that. Mark, sorry, are you okay? Thank you so much. Hope we get CDM, says Dylan. I'm fine, mate. Yeah, fine. Listen to yourself. McTominay plays as a defender for Scotland. Why is he in our middle? Says Neil Fish. Rice or nothing. Spending 75 million on Rice will improve the chances to win the trophy, says Rahul. We ain't going to spend that amount of money, I'm afraid. Leave Greenwood alone, you muppets. He's a teenager playing first-team football for us and you want to cut him down, you clown, says Ben. Exactly. Generational talent. I just don't get it. I just don't get. I don't actually get some of our fan base anyway. They dislike Bruno, they dislike Wan-Bissaka, they give Greenwood a load of shit. And I'm like, these lads in their own way are very, very important to this team. Sancho and Varane signing is masking the ineffective board that's been there for the last 8 years, says Zaid. 16 years. It's so clear that we need a CDM. How can the board be so blind, says Paranjay. I think if you watched the game yesterday in the first half, definitely. But what I would say is, I think it's always important to be honest with your thoughts. And I have no conviction in this yet. It's just a thought process. Where I am at the moment, I'm like this. If our midfield next season is Fred, McTominay, Matic, Donny, and a new midfielder, and Pogba gets sold, is that worse than Fred, McTominay, Matic, Donny, Pogba? Or is it better? And what I mean is, if you sell Pogba and you bring Basuma in, is Matic, Basuma, Donny, Fred and McTominay actually a better balanced midfielder because you've got somebody who can play in the Matic role in Basuma or Neves than keeping Pogba? And I think that's a really interesting point to make, because this has been said for so long by Romano and the British outlets that United will buy a midfielder if they sell a midfielder. We're not going to sell Matic, are we? We're not going to sell Fred. We're not going to sell McTominay. We're hopefully not going to sell Van der Beek. And that leaves Pogba. We're going to go into this season with 5 midfielders, one way or another. I think you need 6, but we're going to go into it with 5 because that's what we're going to do. I think that he's going to keep Lingard, regardless of whether you want him to or not, and Lingard is a backup for Bruno. So therefore, you've got 2 midfield positions for 5 players. Matic, Pogba, Fred, McTominay and Donny. Pogba goes, Neves comes in. Pogba goes, Basuma comes in. I think, to be fair, we're probably in a better position as a balanced midfield, even though we would be selling one of the world's best midfielders. And I think that comes down to the fact the uncertainty about Pogba's future, and also the uncertainty about where Ollie uses him. If I knew Ollie was going to use Pogba in a midfield 2 every game, then I'd be far happier to keep him. But to be honest with you, I don't think Ollie is going to do that. I think he'll put him on the left. I think he'll put him on the right. I think he'll play him at number 10. I think sometimes he'll play in the midfield. And that sort of a player doesn't give you any consistency. Alanga and Isaac on top, and Victor Lindelof Swedish team, says Henry. Okay. And Mark, what would be your CDM to get for Man United? Ideal CDM would be a Rice or an Ndidi. A realistic CDM is going to be somebody that's a little bit different. Probably don't stand out as a specialist, but I do think Ruben Neves can do the job that Matic did yesterday easily. I could imagine Ruben Neves doing what Matic did yesterday. I can imagine Basuma doing what Matic did yesterday. So for me, at this point, look, I do like Saul Niguez, I really do. But for me, I would be going, and I think Saul Niguez goes more in the Donny role than he does the Matic role. I think for me, Neves or Basuma, and they're 35 million each. So, you know, one of those two, please, would be beneficial, I think. Ndidi's fantastic, though. There's just no way that Leicester are going to let him go. And there's not even a hint of them letting him go. So, yeah. Kessie better than Ndidi, says Rocky. You might want to check where Kessie plays, because Kessie doesn't sit and hold the midfield like Ndidi does. He plays more in the Donny role, box to box. And I don't think Kessie can be an Ndidi, if you know what I mean. Anyway, look, thanks everyone for watching. Really enjoyed the show. Smash a like on the video. Make sure you subscribe. Bottom right-hand corner. Got a massive show tonight at 8 o'clock. It's the season sort of preview. Ricky's going to be on. Adam's going to be on. And obviously I'll be hosting it. So looking forward to that tonight at 8 o'clock. Obviously, if anything breaks this afternoon, we will go live. But yeah, lots to get into this morning. Lots to get your teeth into. The Pogba drama, the Martial potential drama. Let's wait and see. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care. Have a good day. And I'll speak to you soon.